It's again one of those gates to prevent big hacks, big breaches from happening.
Hello and welcome to the Innovation Exchange, a Workday podcast. This is the show where we explore the partner-built innovations that give Workday customers more value, more confidence, and more ways to drive performance and growth for their teams. I'm your host, Mark Woollen, and today I'm excited to spend time with Amanda Monrad from Kainos. Kainos has taken the very painful job around user access reviews, and they've actually turned it into a fast, automated, and audit-ready process that lives entirely inside of Workday. So first off, Amanda, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Mark. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for taking the time.
Oh, we're super happy to have you here. And in kind of doing my research ahead of time, you've had a diverse set of experiences. I mean, I think you worked across, academia, and consultancy work. You're now at Kainos. If you don't mind, like, what is the work that you do? Like, what's kind of always like informed it? And how does that play a role also then in how Kainos partners with Workday?
Yeah, I'm definitely a little non-traditional in my path to product leadership. So currently in my role, I am the head of product at Kainos for our Smart Audit suite of products, which is actually a lot of products that help with compliance automation, governance, risk, and compliance for Workday. But my background before being a head of product was not, product manager, product owner, and so on. I'm actually a certified public accountant in the state of California, also certified information systems auditor. And even before that, my undergraduate degree is actually in theater. So I worked in theater arts. I've been a director of stage plays, been on stage before. But then I started to decide I wanted to learn accounting. I was really fascinated by the language of business. So I went back to school to get my master's in accountancy. And then that was when I started in audit. And I blended also some of my love of IT and my love of automation into that. And that was where I first started with PwC. I was in their risk assurance practice, which is really around IT systems and controls and how they affected audit. And I really started to become passionate about using technology in the accounting world. Then I moved into the internal audit space. So I started working for a large multinational logistics corporation doing internal audit. I lived in Amsterdam for 3 years, heading up their internal audit division in EMEA. Yeah. So I saw lots of countries. But really, at the end of the day, what I've always been really passionate about is using technology to make compliance faster, easier, almost delightful. So I think we'll show that later today. But we're able to try and use automation in an underserved area, which is compliance. And then I found my way into Workday transformations. I'm also really passionate about digital transformation. I started doing that for a really large multinational advertising agency. I found out about Kainos and what Smart Audit could do. And I said, hey, guys, I kind of forced my way into Kainos, right? I was like, I can't wait to be a part of this product. I really believe in the vision. I really believe in what we can do. And that's what's led me to where I am today, right? Pretty different story, but it's been a lot of fun. And this is absolutely my dream job today.
That's so cool, Amanda. Well, and the I want to get to the element of delightful in a moment. Before we do, though, I've only been at Workday a little over a year. You've been a part of this ecosystem for quite some time. You're one of those people, before spending time with you now, like I almost feel like I know in a way because doing my homework on Workday and going to Workday Rising kind of like on my own, you're a regular, like you be a speaker there on a regular basis. And if you don't mind my asking, just for the diverse set of listeners we have on this podcast, for those people that are maybe thinking of going to a Workday Rising event, but maybe haven't quite done it yet, I'm curious, like, are there any like tips and tricks, advice that you would give them for why they should go and also, given how big it can be, how to get the most out of it?
That's a good question. So I've now been to 3 risings. I've been to the US one twice. I was at Barcelona. So I'm starting to get the hang of it. I thought I knew what to expect in my first one. Everything went out the window. I think for me, it's 3 things. Come up with what are the biggest questions you wish you could get answered? Like that you're struggling with Workday or meeting other people in the area. Like, what is that objective that you want to achieve? You could tell I'm so type A, right? Because I'm like, set your objectives before you go to a conference. But yeah, like What is it you want to achieve? And let that also be your North Star. You're going to get so distracted. There's so much cool stuff going on. There's so many different things you can investigate. But don't forget to leave that week of rising achieving that one thing for you, because everybody's there. I think that's the other part is pick your celebs that you want to see in the Workday world and find them because they're so accessible. I was at EMEA Rising in Barcelona. I was just standing next to Jennifer Wong, who works for Workday. She's the security lead PM. And I was like, wait a minute, I have so many questions for you, Jennifer. Like, so I made a brain date with her. Like, everybody's accessible to you. Pick who you might want to meet with, offer a brain date, and really use that chance to connect. There's nowhere else where that's available to you in any other product I really worked for, right? Like I've been in the SAP ecosystem before. So Rising's so unique in that way. Then the last one is actually also like, so networking, of course, is also just to kind of soak it in. It's really phenomenal. Like the vibe that you get, all of the fun you can have while also really meeting and deep diving into some of the hardcore Workday security knowledge you want to gain. Like it's all right there. So I think it's kind of like take a moment to like just look around and see all the people that are there, right? It's been cool. Brene Brown, Michelle Obama, right? Zach Brown, like it's really fun. So just take a moment to let it sink in. I think those are my 3 tips, and comfy shoes and coffee and hydration.
I've been to a handful of these rising events myself now, and yeah, the hydration thing is definitely key.
The struggle's real. When you lose your voice on day 3, this struggle's real.
Well, and it's helpful to hear too, like from your perspective as, both a user as well as a partner, with Workday, that effort that goes into like the brain dates, for example, like said more universally, perhaps, we aspire to have that accessibility. We invest a lot of time and effort and I think heart into it. Yes, we're there. Like, please be there. We're available and we're here for you.
I think same for DevCon. Like DevCon may not get the same as Rising, but DevCon for me as a product person and as a developer person, they're rock stars there. Like, I mean, these girls walk around and they are the things of legend. So just I feel the same way about Workday Rising is you never know who you might see, and just say hi. Like, I think that's the other fun part about it.
If you don't mind, I do want to get into like this delightful aspect, the product aspect a little bit now. Before we get into the product though, for those, kind of the uninitiated, if you will, um, let's just kind of start at like the most basic level. User access reviews. What are they? And I'm going to hazard a guess here that they are essential and probably not all that easy to pull off. Like just take us through that if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'm sure, Mark, in your life, you've probably done one. You've gotten some email from somebody in the corporate world that says, here's the list of people who report to you, Mark. Here's the access that they have in system XYZ. Is it right? And you look at that list and you're like, well, I don't know half these people, or I don't know what that access role means, right? And then you like kind of let it sit and you're like, I'll get to that later, Friday afternoon. Then Friday afternoon rolls around. Maybe it's, you're like, do I really want to do it? So I think in a nutshell, it is universal. I think we all do it. It's a very common internal control to protect security of the products that we have, the systems that we use. And it helps make sure that companies can adhere to that least privilege principle, which means that people have only the requirements they need to have, the security they need to have to do their job. And so this becomes a very common practice, but it doesn't mean that anybody pays necessarily a lot of attention to the process and making it an easy one. Sometimes it becomes a checkbox exercise. And that's never really, as a compliance lover at heart, that's never really what we want it to do. We want to make sure that you, Mark, are able to think critically and with the right context about whether those people have the right access in the system to do their job. No more, no less. And that's the fundamental problem. Now, is it easy? No. It's not like tech products necessarily make their security groups or their security designs really accessible to the common user. It's also not like there's a mechanism to communicate with everybody quick and easy to get them the right information they need. And everybody thinks a little differently about how they want to review security. So I remember in one of my transformation roles, I was doing this process. I was responsible for actually doing it and getting it done. And my chief transformation officer looked at me and said the same thing as you. Shouldn't this be easy? Are we just firing around a spreadsheet and everybody says, yeah, that's right, yeah, that's wrong, and it's done? The answer is you'd think so, but in the details, it's definitely not that easy. How do you make it an easy experience for the user, one with the right amount of context and the right amount of detail? So that's what we've been heads down solving for the last 3 years.
Whether you take the most painful path imaginable to get these things done, or whether you take a more elegant, delightful approach, if you will, which we'll get to in a moment, what are the stakes if you don't do user access reviews properly? What if you get it wrong? Like, what happens?
I think you could probably ask a lot of customers out there because it's a pretty common finding. So it's a pretty common issue that they're having from an audit perspective. It's something that at its core can result in breach. If we look at some of like the Target breach a couple years back, it was a contractor account that got hacked that retained access that shouldn't have. It should have been deactivated. So those are the types of things we're going after with this type of control activity. It's again one of those gates to prevent big hacks, big breaches from happening.
So among the things, and I want to get into a little bit now what you're doing with your app at Kainos, it sounds to me like some of the core foundational pieces you have to solve for are sounds like the data gathering, the auditing, probably like the evidence, if you will, that kind of underlies that. And now, if I may borrow from your time in the theater, enter stage left, Kainos user access reviews. Kainos' user access review app, it's designed to basically kind of automate and solve for those very core challenges. So I got a number of questions here I'd love to learn. Like, first off is like, I think if I'm not mistaken, you've built this on Workday, right? So tell us how you've done that, and tell us, like, if you don't mind, like, how is it actually not only built on, but kind of like built into Workday?
It's really a cool story, and I think it's one that only Kainos can tell as a partner. So Kainos has been a partner in the Workday ecosystem for more than a decade, right? We are probably the proudest product partner of Kainos, and our goal really is to make products that help customers realize their ROI from Workday. And also, as you're talking more in the Workday marketplace and the partner ecosystem that's been growing at Workday, you're talking more about this next level of localization. Like Workday wants to solve for 90% of a global problem, right? AP is AP is AP, accounts payable is accounts payable is accounts payable. Now, security and user access reviews, that requirement may vary depending on your country, depending on your regulatory environment. So Workday can't really make a one-size-fits-all type of solution. So enter a partner like Kainos that is primed to take that next step. We want to work on that next level of localization and solve these semi-universal challenges, right, that probably 80 to 75% of the Workday ecosystem want to solve. So how did we come up with this kind of idea and see this problem? Our Smart Audit product has been in that GRC space, and we knew this was one we wanted to tackle, but we knew that the right way to solve it was by meeting people where they were working, was by bringing that user access review straight into the Workday inbox. So we thought about building an external product like our Smart Audit product that sat outside, but we've already got those, right? We've got other competitors in market that are going after that broad enterprise level identity access management solution. So we didn't want to step into that space. We wanted to respect the uniqueness of Workday and design the right solution for Workday. So it was really this hybrid. And when we began the journey, it was going to be an Extend application. So this was about 2 years ago. We were starting to build it and Extend, and then Workday made Workday Build and Extend and Orchestrate more available to partners so that we could really take our proprietary product, Smart Audit, and marry it with Extend and the orchestration framework, and then bring those final stages to life in Workday. So it really, when we're giving demos of this product to customers, one of the reasons it's so delightful is because you would never know all of that's in the background. It feels like a SKU that Workday has developed themselves. We're so proud of that.
Hey there! If you are loving these partner innovation stories, be sure to check out the Workday Marketplace. That's where you can explore partner and Workday-built apps, templates, integrations, and agents to help you do more with Workday. Visit marketplace.workday.com for more. And now, back to the show.
I want to go a little deeper there, and I'm curious for two if not individual personas, for two different kind of cohorts of users. For both the end users that are in that populace inside your company about whether or not they should or should not have continued access to something. And then for the managers, or even more so, maybe the auditors, I'm curious, what is each of those respective parties, what do they see? Like, what's their part of the process? What's their user experience like? And then the other part of that, if you don't mind, like, could you juxtapose that to life before Kano's user access review?
Yeah, I'm going to give 3 types of users. So as if your question wasn't already tough enough, I hope I remember. But we have 3 primary personas. One is actually sort of the administrator, or that sort of SME in the background who previously in the old world had to gather, had to execute, had to track, had to PM, and then had to resolve everything at the end. By PM, I mean project manage, right? Track everything. So I've got that person who, depending on the organization, that person is very different. In some organizations we work with, that's a security administrator. In some, it's an HR leader. In some, it's a compliance person. So that sort of admin person's very, very different. Their current experience is really disaggregated. A lot of different systems, probably in spreadsheets, Outlook, who knows, but they're pulling Workday, of course, but they're pulling everything back together and then sending it around and having that experience. The end user that you mentioned, Mark, their experience, probably Outlook and spreadsheets, really that one we described in the beginning of the podcast, right? This no context, hurry up, get this done, do it on time kind of experience, right? But also they don't understand what they're looking at. They don't have a lot of training. They just know they've got to do it, or else maybe they're not going to get their bonus. I've seen people who haven't gotten their bonus. So that's their experience with it. Then the auditors who are coming in and saying they're getting a giant spreadsheet and maybe walk through with that SME. What is this? Show me how you got from a list from Workday through to Outlook, all the way down to, did you make the right decisions? Did you capture everybody completely and accurately? And auditors have a nightmare because they have to try and tie back to what was in Workday, to what you had in your spreadsheet, to what you actually revoked. So you can see it becomes this sort of 350-piece orchestra that one SME is trying to conduct. In the new world with the application, yeah, the pain, no one wants to talk about it. I've seen people in our design partner group who've opened up a spreadsheet that takes 10 to 15 minutes to load. And, the guy who built it is about to retire, like his retirement party's coming, So I've really seen it, and I've seen the pain. And that's what's so cool about the product, is the joy. I swear, the actual joy on people's faces when they do the process using the Kainos User Access Review app. So what it feels like now for that SME, let's start with that journey. For that subject matter expert now, they manage their scope with our Smart Audit team. You set your scope, then you've got the series of configurations you need to do inside of Workday, which look and feel just like how you would configure traditional Workday. They're going to interface with business process definitions, other types of, we secure it using Workday security framework. So that's what they're dealing with, not learning a bunch of new systems, but we're also there to help. We've got a great onboarding team and our product teams that are there to help as you configure that for the SME. Then really, you're clicking a button to send the reviews out. We send all of the automation. The product itself is what's doing all of those tasks. It's issuing hundreds of business process definition tasks out, collecting all the reviews, bringing them back to you, giving you reporting in real time in Workday about the progress, letting you track it. No more pivot tables, no more manual status updates. And then we're giving you those final reports. So you can walk in, Mark, if I reported to you and you said, Amanda, where's the status of our user access review? I open that page or that dashboard in Workday and you can see it yourself. So you don't even need to meet with me anymore. So it takes that administrative burden away from them 100%. Auditors, since the product team gets to live with me as their as their head, you can guarantee that we think about this product with auditors in mind from the beginning. So we designed with that. So auditors have audit-ready reports that can be pulled in minutes that summarize the changes that were made, the results, the number of different reviews you had, who completed their reviews when. All of that completeness and accuracy, we've thought about it from the beginning. So really, we've revolutionized that process and made it as if it was built just for Workday.
Super, super cool. That does sound, I mean, like the impact I can have. I've not been an auditor, but let's just say that like I'm friends with more than a few, and like the sense of calm and basically that like kind of like, I mean, I've gone through the whole SOX experience taking a company public, and like the new level of risk and the new level of controls you're putting in place with that. So and I've gone literally from spreadsheets to automation, and or I should say some automation, still way too many spreadsheets for like comfort. So like that just sounds very calming and very confidence inspiring, if you will. So that's awesome to hear. The other thing that you mentioned I thought was really this is a little bit kind of like going back in the history of the initial idea for the app. And I want to get to this a little bit more, particularly for people that are maybe thinking about maybe building their own kind of Workday based application. You had mentioned, if I remember correctly, that your initial idea for this was to make it a Workday Extend application. And then, as you mentioned, Workday started to, with Workday Build and built on Workday, make more and more of our platform open and available to our partners. So when you, as a product leader, look at like your team and the sets of skills, and as you build out basically your release plan and you break it down into sprints, how much of the time, how much of the talent, how much of the capacity, if you will, is devoted to, oh, we got to ramp on Workday, so we understand how Workday works, and how much of it are you able to dedicate to, well, no, like this is actually what we know about these, kind of audit processes, like your unique ideas, your unique knowledge, and then applying that and codifying that into this application. How do you split up how do you think about the team and the resources in that regard?
Yeah, boy, it's an interesting question. We're kind of going through it right now. So Smart Audit's been around for about 5 years. We're going to have our 5-year anniversary soon as a platform that kind of rides alongside Workday. Built on Workday's really sort of revolutionized what's been possible for us to do. So I think there's it's this beautiful thing about being a product owner of looking at our roadmap and saying, where do we want to prioritize bringing the experience to Workday? Where can we keep some of our proprietary work going in the background to make it the best of both worlds? And then where haven't we gone yet, right? So where are the next things that are, and we have a beautiful customer base that is really broad, really diverse, who are also giving us ideas. We have an idea portal that customers drop new ideas for new products, for new features into us all the time. So we're also measuring what's on the horizon to help us disrupt, to help us delight even further. So I want to say we try to split it pretty evenly between kind of maintenance, like care and feeding, real innovation, and then also kind of making the product more built on Workday so that our customers are getting more of that in the flow of your work feeling with our product. So, but this has been the part of my job that I absolutely love, right? Is going through that process and seeing what the art of the possible is next with our roadmap.
Oh, undoubtedly. No, it comes through. The other thing too that like you got me thinking about here is part of this is me inferring because I've not had to build my own audit app ever, but I've had to take stock, of the different systems and access the different, not merely kind of what I'll call roles, but even individuals, might be privy to or should not be privy to. I think about the number of systems. I think about the number of data and data sources and the variation of those for this app. Like, how much data from what different kinds of systems? Like, what are you connecting to? What does it have to handle?
The answer there is it depends. And we really do. So we're leveraging our proprietary platform, Smart Audit, and the background of that is leveraging a pretty robust database and our own code in a way to manage some of the orchestrations that we're doing in the background. The extent of data that we're handling depends on the size of the customer and the complexity of their Workday tenant itself. And that's I tell every Workday customer that we work with, all of my customers, that they're a snowflake. Your Workday SKU lineup and your design is your own beautiful thing. But we design, one of the best things about Kainos is we design to be enterprise ready. We want to be able to work on a 0 to 1,000 FSE Workday customer to a major, right? To 100,000 plus. So with some of our design partner groups, we've been working with one that had around 455 reviewers. So 455 business process definitions that were kicked off, We were then reviewing more than 5,000 Workday accounts. And that was more than, I think, 30,000 security group assignments or role assignments individually. And so we've been performance testing this with them to make sure that, we understand the demands it's making on their tenant. We're making sure that our product is taking some of that load as well. So again, it's not impacting the customer's Workday experience. We've also got users using the product that are really small, right? 0 to 1,000s, that we're making sure that it fits them as well. So the volumes of data are pretty significant. But it does depend on obviously the Workday design itself.
I'd like to ask a question, if you don't mind, Amanda, from a slightly different perspective. And of the many guests we've had, like I think you individually, and also with your experience at Kainos overall, you may be the one I've been the most eager to ask this of, actually. User access reviews. You've built a number of apps now, kind of like natively on Workday. You've got a perspective maybe that is, I think, unique in that regard. And I'm curious if you don't mind sharing for other either current Workday developers or leaning in, Workday curious, potential building on Workday development partners. Any lessons learned, any advice you give them about here's what you should keep in mind. Here are the benefits, here are the gotchas. Here's how to make the most of your experience developing your app, launching your app, and then taking your app to market.
What a great question. Knowing the customer problem that you're solving for is super important. And I think from a developer perspective, what I've seen even with my own product teams, we get really excited about features and we get really excited about automation, but we have to make sure that it's going to delight the customer at the end of the day, right? That it's really going to solve a problem that customers are faced with. I think that's step one. I think two, our relationship with Workday. Kainos has such a strong relationship with Workday that we're pushing Workday's boundaries, just like Workday's pushing our boundaries back. So Workday goes through a full application review, design reviews, and code reviews of our product before it hits the marketplace to make sure, right, that it's ready and it's ready for your customers. And we've had a great relationship with the Workday team where we've been able to say, these are some of the things that are holding us back from achieving what we need. And the Workday team will work hand in hand with us to solve those items. So I think if you're thinking about getting in the space, it's making sure that you're finding the Workday connections to help you know Workday, know the process of bringing your apps to life, and knowing that market is out there for your app and that you're solving it. And Workday's made this great for partners with some of the initiatives they have, really letting me know what the customer problem is that they see, that they hear from, and letting me design products for it, letting us design products for it.
Compliance. That's very clear. So I'd love to get your take, if you don't mind, and this is almost a two-part question. The first part is what do you see as kind of like the next big thing to tackle on the horizon for compliance automation? And then I'm curious, what's, not only your perspective on that, but what do you see doing at Kainos to help deliver against that?
I love this question. Let me see. I could go in so many different directions with it, but I think obviously agentic is a big motion, right? For compliance, it's less about doing the work for an auditor or doing the work for a compliance professional, and it's more about context. So it's more about letting agents or letting AI or letting technology bring me the right information to make the decision. And a human in the loop, as always. So before, one of my biggest limiters as an auditor was not being able to get the full scope of context to make the right decision, all the information I needed to make the right decision. Now with agents, they can do that work so much faster, and they have so much more reach than I ever thought possible, that it makes my decision making not easier, almost harder in a way, right? Because it gives you more insight, but it brings you so much more to make such a richer decision and more data-driven decision making. So that's where I think compliance is going, not so much fully agentic process automation, but more about more rich contextual audit or more rich contextual compliance, which is what we're also seeing with UAR. We're bringing more context to that user to let them make a decision, an empowered decision faster.
Yep. No, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, speaking from my own experience here within Workday and how we're rolling out agentic capabilities, yes, there's an element of ease and reduced friction, but really more often than not, it's about increased access to more relevant, timely data for much more data-driven, comprehensively so decision making. So that rings true for what it's worth in my own experience as well here at Workday.
I'm pretty excited about it. It's a lot of stuff. If the world is our oyster, right, Mark?
Totally. No, it is. So Amanda, like, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. This has been just an amazing conversation. I've learned a ton about not only what you do, but like, I think the really um, incredibly elegant, as you said, delightful way that you bring it to life for like these essential, kind of audit, and compliance processes that exist inside all of our Workday customers.
Well, thanks. I mean, it's not often that you hear the word compliance and delightful or joy in the same sentence, but that's really the goal, right? I want to make sure that we're making these processes easy enough, delightful enough that people want to do them and do them well. So I think that we're achieving that, and that's our real mission with our products at Kainos.
Well, I think you are, and Godspeed on that mission, Amanda. Thank you again. Our guest today has been Amanda Monrad from Kainos. And if you want to learn more about Kainos User Access Review, how it works with Workday, please go ahead and visit marketplace.workday.com. And if you have feedback, any guest suggestions, or heck, if you just want to say hello, please connect with us on social media using all of the usual social accounts. And until next time, goodbye.